Hello everyone and welcome to PaxAriaGaming. This is Reg with bonus episode number 5, the final bonus episode of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I know I've already said a lot of this stuff. Game is incredibly good. It moved up on my top 20 list to number 2 all time, behind Elden Ring. Alright, if you're wondering where I'm heading, I am heading to the Abyss, so Renoir's Drafts.
Flashing through the sky.
Now, some of you might know this. I took a peek at Simon, but I hadn't fought him yet. So we're going to try to fight Simon. My understanding is he's incredibly difficult. I probably will fail the first time. I have no doubt about that, since everyone says he's one of the more difficult bosses.
Hang on tight.
By the end of the video, I'll tell you how many attempts it took. But this is the very first one. I had completed most of Renoir's Drafts. Actually, I completed all of it, and actually repeated part of it, just to gain some ability to upgrade my Lumina. So the Golden Tree is where you would want to go to get to the Abyss. This is a strange area. It's not that big. The enemies are tanky, but by this point in the game, you should be well able to handle any of those enemies. This is the entrance to the Abyss. And you cannot access the Abyss from, at least I don't think you can, from the continent. Maybe am I wrong about that? I don't know. I've always come here to get to the Abyss. When we took a peek in here before, we got to this point, and then we got the dire warning, and then we turned around. That was probably in the last bonus episode. And I don't doubt that I'll probably end up having to change my builds, maybe my party. You know, I have a favorite party that I always use. I may have to switch people out. I may have to change Pictos. I may have to change Lumina. There's a bunch of stuff I might have to do in order to fully max my ability to cause damage. The longer the fight lasts, I know the less likely it is that I'm going to win. That much I'm pretty sure of. Okay, so there's a flag here. And there's Simon. And there is the final journal. So those are the last two things that I really needed to do to complete all of my objectives. And that is get the final journal, which then means I'll have all of the journals done, and to defeat Simon. I've done literally everything else in the game. Now, have I missed a Pictos here and there? Yes, I'm pretty sure I have. You know, I don't always buy everything from all of the merchants. And I think if I had done that, I wouldn't have to backtrack in some cases to go back and get things that I might need for a particular boss fight.
These swords. They look like the ones in old Lumiere.
Ah, so he's the one who felled the Axon. Simon.
You know him?
He's an old friend of mine. We joined Expedition Zero together. He disappeared and I thought... Looks like you met Clair. I'll lay you to rest, my friend. Watch out.
Merci.
Let's finish this.
That's lucky.
Didn't really need it.
Okay, so that punch move is sort of interesting. Didn't expect that. But, you know, be that as it may, I'm not doing a very good job of parrying his moves. He's a pretty imposing guy.
You can't leave us yet.
And I probably am going to have to change some of my skills as well. Because as you can see, I've done no damage to the guy. I only have Mayao. Unfortunately.
You can't escape.
Yeah. Definitely not doing enough damage. And I know that, you know, with enough trials,
Die next time.
I'll eventually be able to parry some of his moves. My understanding is this is a 3-phase fight, but you can defeat him in 2 phases.
End of the line.
Yeah, I'm definitely not doing enough damage. He's got a huge health pool, and I'm assuming
Target marked.
in the next phase it'll just go back to full health. It's okay, because early on you're just learning his movesets. I mean, I've not seen him fight. I have not fought him yet until now. I knew he was difficult. And so part of it is his jumps. That little punch thing he did, which was a little shocking. So I probably will end up doing a better job of dodging than parrying. The issue, of course, is I won't get the counters. I don't know why Mael just ate that. That's just crazy. See that punch? I'm keeping my eye on the big ass sword that he has, and then he throws a punch. He jams the sword in the ground and then throws a punch. I'm like, okay. All right. You got a counter, not bad. But only 200,000 damage, or XP. I guess damage, not XP.
I'll manage.
I don't think the healing matters, so I may end up taking those Pictos off. The reason I say that is because he can one-shot you. So it doesn't matter how much health you have. If he's able to land on you, you won't survive that. See? So it didn't matter that I was full health.
Let's finish this.
Yeah, I don't know why. See how... Okay. I just wanted to keep this one in. Actually, a few of them I'll keep in so you guys can see my evolution to fighting Simon.
Let's have some fun.
This first round I knew would be bad.
Let's have some fun.
I mean, I don't know what the hell the second phase is going to be like if I can't get through the first phase.
No more tricks. Careful,
Okay, so that move, removing the dead to the out of the canvas, is a bit of an issue. In that third phase I mentioned about, he removes the entire expedition from the canvas. Which means if you're going to have a very long fight to get them into all three phases, your second team needs to be prepared for that. I mean, if your second team are the weakest people and don't have the best Pictos equipped or Lumina, then you may as well just abandon the fight and start over. And I think that the goal, and it's a goal, so sometimes you meet your goals, sometimes you don't. The goal should be to always sort of do this with your first team. And you could, I mean, if you want to play it right, I mean, you could have only 2 people on your main team and then 3 people on your reserve team. And if you're going to do it that way, I would save Mael for the third team, for the second team, the reserve team. But I don't want to do it that way because I don't even want to get to a third phase. So there are definitely some Pictos that weren't helpful in this fight. Like Feint uses the Barapapa thing that Monoko has on his hands. That could be good if you build your build around that. Okay, so this is a different day, just in case you're wondering. After several attempts, I decided it was probably a good idea for me to do something else. So I jetted out, went back to Renoir's drafts, killed a few more creatures. Again, you know, you don't need to have, 350 Lumina points in order to do this. You just need the right Pictos and Lumina equipped. And in order to know what the right ones are, sometimes I think it's really just trial and error. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's using your big brain and saying, okay, all right, I definitely need second chance because he's going to kill me. And I don't want to be removed from the canvas. So if he kills me, then I'll come back. You want to, for Verso, the build that I was using is sort of the machine gun build. This is what I have. Yeah, you just saw it. You would want to use the machine gun build to do semi-decent damage. If you do it right, you can probably knock off about 500,000 in health for each turn. And, you know, since these guys have cheater on, they get to play 2 turns. Okay, I'll come back to Simon in a second. Let's fight these guys. It's a lot easier at this late point in the game because I'm sort of OP compared to them. I still have Clair's health on, but I won't leave that on for my Simon fight because it's not helpful. But for these fights, it might be. So this machine gun build that I have on Verso, you probably can get 30 shots off, but you don't want it to drop below 2 because you always want to leave the enemy with a mark. So you can either use Defiant Strike at 3 or Marking Shot at 2. So you want to pay attention to that when you're firing off. The other thing is there's some Pictos that will enhance your free aim shots. Trigger Happy is one of them. It's a high cost. I mean, you know, but again, for the Simon fight, you don't need 300. You probably can get by with, I would say, about 160 of them. And again, it depends on your party. You know, Simon is the moderate damage dealer. Mael is the major damage dealer. CL just sort of sets things up for me.
Oh well.
So that's the way I want to play it. I have, and I didn't show this. I did experiment with Lune.
Oh well.
And of course she's in my second team.
Bring it on.
But the strategy that I'm trying to build is to is to minimize the number of times that Simon plays. That's the goal. So one of the ways to do that is to use intervention, and that's a skill of CL. And depending on who she uses it on, in this case she'd be using it on Mael. Mael gets to play immediately. So depending on, you really have to set the order of the players up in the way that capitalizes on that as well. So I always want Verso to play first, CL to play second, and Mael to play third. At least in my mind, that allows me to do the most damage. Because Verso would have played, CL is not really going to do any real damage, but she can use Marking Shot, and then that allows Mael to use either Gommage, if she has the gradient, or to use Stendhal, which, you know, I'm not sure. Some people are saying, oh, Stendhal was the most powerful in the game. I don't know whether that is or whether Gommage is. You know, Gommage is a great, I mean, it's two different things. One is a gradient attack and the other one is a skill. They're both pretty darn powerful. And if you have mark on the enemy, especially CL's mark, I think it's a one-shot. Now, I haven't been able to achieve that yet, but I'm willing to try it. You know, the thing is, you're torn, right? I mean, when I got to the end, I thought, okay, I need to be at level 90 in order to face Simon. But then, having faced him and gotten my ass handed to me, I decided, okay, no. I need more Lumina points. I definitely have to do that. So then I went to Lumiere, and there's an enemy that you can fight that gives you 5 each fight. So you get your 5, you go back to the flag, you rest, and you go back and get 5 more. So in an hour's time, you can get quite a few. I don't have the patience to sit there and do that for an hour. So I'd say for about 10 or 15 minutes, I ended up with 20 or 30 of those Lumina points. So I went in, added them in, and then I could use more Lumina. But there's a lot of them that don't really do anything for you. So I think for all of you who are, well, for the few of you who are actually watching my videos, and for those of you who played and have gotten to the Simon fight, he can be frustrating. He's as frustrating as Oscur. Oscur is a very frustrating fight. That's in Verso's drafts. You know, once you know he has a full freaking second phase that regains his entire health, then you prepare for it. When you don't know that, you think, oh, I've done this, and then he ends up with a second phase. And not only that, he has a gradient attack that is almost impossible to counter. I lucked up and countered it on my first try. When I went back to fight him again, I could never repeat that.
That's better.
And it's a long fight. The saving grace in this one is the Simon fight is not very long. Like I said, the longer you're fighting him, the more likely it is that you're going to die. So you don't want to spend an hour fighting. I don't think you can spend an hour fighting Simon. Oscur, you can spend an hour fighting him easily. Same thing with Clair. Same thing with Painted Love. With Clair and Painted Love, the issue is that they regain health. So if you don't parry perfectly, and the enemy regains health, that seems like such an unfair mechanic. It forces you, at least for that enemy, to parry. If you're one of those gamers who are like parry gods, you won't have a problem with any of this stuff. Although Simon is still challenging because he's got the timing of his sword strikes, the double sword strike, is kind of interesting. But clearly it's learnable. We're not going to spend a lot of time in Renoir's drafts. I just needed a break from Simon. But when we go back, you're going to see multiple attempts. I think all total, there are probably like 40 attempts with me and Simon. Because it's a short fight, it wasn't so difficult to get 40, but I wasn't going to record all 40, or at least leave all 40 of them into this this video. No. Because some of it is you fight them 3 or 4 times, you're not making progress, you go back, you change your pictos, you fight them 2 or 3 more times, it's worse, so then you go back and you change them again, you know, it's that kind of stuff.
Take your shot.
You know, unlike, you know, Millennia and in Elden Ring, where there's really not much for you to change. She gains health every time she hits you. And there's not a lot that you can do. You know, yeah, I know people went out and got Rivers of Blood, the katanas, and used that against her. But I was using a sort of a mage build, and I didn't have that. Or at least if I had it, I didn't level it up or something like that. I can't remember now. In this one, again, it's a short fight. Or let me put it this way, it could be a short fight. You can't make the Millennia fight short. You can't make Ishin, the Sword Saint from Sekiro. You can't make that fight short. So there are certain bosses in these games where it's going to be a task. There are other bosses without, well, even if you cheese a boss, sometimes it's a fight.
Time to end this.
I cheesed the boss in a game. I don't remember what game it was. He's one of these super bosses, but he can be poisoned. It might have been Elden Ring. Actually, I did it twice. One time I did it in Elden Ring, and the other time I did it in another game. But you just walk up behind him, you hide behind something, and you just continually poison him. And with
So be it.
in Elden Ring, I was fighting with Egon, fighting the dragon, I did the same thing. At least in my second playthrough, I did that. I played it 3 times, but only in the second playthrough that I used that. So you can use the dagger that makes you somewhat invisible, and then you use something else that makes you somewhat invisible, and you have to move around the edge of the arena, and you can get behind him and just poison him. It takes a very long time. I mean, super long. But trust me, it was better than fighting him again. I was traumatized by that fight. But you can't always do that, right? I mean, Radahn in Shadow of the Erdtree isn't someone that you can cheese. At least not that I'm aware of. In some of the Dark Souls games, there are enemies that you can cheese as well, but not all of them. In this one, I don't. Those super enemies like Painted Love, Clair, even Renoir, I don't think there's a cheese. I guess I should look before I say that. But I can't imagine. Let me put it this way: I can't imagine that there's a cheese for those folks. I definitely think there's a difference between a cheese and a a one-shot strategy. I don't have a one-shot build, so there's no real one-shot strategy that I can use. I think if I'm struggling with Simon too much, I might end up having to go back and reset again the Pictos. The weapons I don't really change that much. I mean, Miles' weapon is the Metallum. I use it at the beginning, and then I switch to the barrier breaker for a huge chunk, and then I switch back to the Medallum. In Verso's case, I've probably switched more frequently than in any of the other ones. You know, and again, with the strategy that I'm trying to develop for him, his weapon really doesn't matter. Actually, I shouldn't say that, because you want to get A and S ranking when you're using your free aim. It does a little bit more damage, but he's not the one that you're going to use to end the fight. So I don't really need, you know, I don't actually know what his best weapon is. I mean, I definitely want Simon's weapon, but I don't think it's the strongest weapon in the game. And because he'll be the last boss we face, I'm not sure I'll ever get to use it. You know, in terms of whether or not I play New Game Plus, I don't know. If things get to a point where there is a chunk of time where there's not a game, a new game, I might go back and do it. Or may do it off camera. But I know that we have Code Vein coming up next. And after Code Vein, Neo 3. Both games are already out. I think Neo 3 might have just come out. As of this recording, it is February 7th. And I think the game might have come out yesterday. But I'm going to do Code Vein first, and then Neo 3, and then I think Crimson Desert might be out by then, I think. Not sure. Yeah, well, it's supposed to come out on March 19th. And then Pragmata on April 24th. Seiros on April 30th. And then wait all the way until September for Phantom Blade. So it may be that I get back to this in the summer and do a New Game Plus at that point. But I'm guessing that my little list is probably not complete, and there'll be other things that pop up that will pop up before, or at least by summer. But the ones that I mentioned should keep me busy at least until May, I'm guessing. I guess part of it depends on how long the games are. This was a sort of a long game.
End of the line.
I don't know how long Code Vein is. I'm guessing Neo 3 might be longish. The other Neo games were kind of, if you're a completionist like me, they're long. If you're not a completionist and you're just doing main story, then probably not that long. And that would have been true for this game as well. You know, with
Show me what you can do.
the developers indicated that they thought that people would do the optional areas after the game ended. I think that's what the guy said. He said it in one of my earlier videos, based on what the developer had said, that people were complaining that some of the final bosses were easy, and part of the reason why they're easy is because if you go and you do the optional areas, then you're gaining XP, you're leveling up, and you're
Get out of this.
you know, like for instance, I started the Endless Tower, and then had to take a break from it, and do some other things, and then go back to it because I got to a point, I'd say maybe 60% of the way through, where all of the enemies were, it was just taking me too long to kill them. If I had done the Endless Tower at the end of the game, like just before fighting Simon, I probably could have done the Endless Tower in one sitting. Because so many of those fights would have been so much faster. Okay, so one of the things I'm noticing with me in these creations is I need to still up my damage.
Time to end this.
I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm doing more damage than I was doing, you know, like, you know, I'd say the episode before the end game, right? Once you get painted power, you're able to go above the 99.99 mark, but you still need to do more. And I know that Mael's Stendhal can pretty much, you know, end the fight. Especially if the enemy is marked. You can either mark the enemy with Verso, or you can mark the enemy with CL. So as much as you can try, you should make sure that if they're in your party, that before CL plays, the enemy is marked. The other thing you want to do is make sure that Mael has Last Chance as one of her skills, because that will switch her to Virtuose mode, which significantly increases her damage output. And I've used it a few times with Gommage. I guess I wasn't aware that Stendhal was as powerful as it is. And if you're wondering who the hell is Stendhal, Stendhal was an artist. It's a person's real name, and I'm guessing since this world, this game is created with, you know, references to painters and artists and stuff like that, that they probably used his philosophy or his work to put in here. I would never have known about this guy otherwise. Okay, so that's her using the Gommage. And that probably dealt that 9 million, which was the highest damage dealt in that particular fight. The other thing I've done is if I found new Pictos, I'll go to the continent and just do 4 little battles to learn the Pictos. Yeah, you don't need to learn those Pictos in an arena. You can just go to the continent and fly around SKA and drop down and fight little creatures on the beach.
Cut him down.
I mean, it's a very quick way to do it. So while it's you wait until Versa's finished shooting his shots. So you don't need to learn them all if you don't choose to. I think what you do need to do is to set up for your build, figure out which ones will work for you. And everyone doesn't need them. I mean, if one is a Pictos for you, yes, you can make that aluminum for someone else. But there are certain instances where you don't want that to be the case. The second chance, for instance, I would put on everybody.
Get out of this, Countess.
There's no reason for them not to get a second chance. I mean, so that's a good one. Unless you have a build that requires you to die.
Let's have some fun.
And there are a couple of builds that you can have to do that. The other thing, roulette is a good one. Teamwork is a good one. There's some really, really, really good ones that create synergy with your whole group. Roulette is good simply because, I mean, you're going to do more damage. It's a matter of how much more damage you're going to do. And it's a, I guess, roulette. It's a roll of the dice, I guess, a roll of the spin of the wheel as to whether you get the 200% more damage or 50% more damage. You know, from my vantage point, more damage is more damage, and as long as you're doing more damage, that's good. So roulette will allow you to do that. There are a few more that will, and then there are some that will slow the enemies so that you play more frequently, or they play less frequently, I guess is the more accurate term. So I enjoy sort of learning about the Pictos and
Get out of this,
let's
Countess.
I'll use this one. Now, the difference was the enemy wasn't marked. If the enemy was marked, that enemy would have died. He only has a slither. There we go. Only had a little bit of health left, so I just missed it. 3 million something was the highest damage I did. Okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm done fooling around in here. We may as well get back, get back to Simon. That is, if I can find the flag. That is Seren, who we took out earlier, who made an appearance, and then Aileen took her out, who made a reappearance, I guess, and then Aileen took her out. Okay, so one last little battle.
You're outmatched.
Picking on these guys, I guess maybe it's helping my ego out a little bit, since Simon smashed me and is likely to do it again.
Let's carve a path. You're outmatched.
Okay, so that was good practice, but still think I need to be able to do more damage. But let's try it out. Okay, so back to Simon we go. Okay, so we have looked at our Pictos. We've looked at our Lumina. Looked at our team. Have them in the order that I think we need them in. And now we're going to run through this very dizzying, mind-altering animation here. Not sure what this is supposed to represent, but it's kind of cool. Okay, so we have a flag, we have Simon. I don't know that I needed to rest, because I think if I die, I'm going to end up right back here. But I didn't want to end up on the outside of at the entrance to the abyss. So I'd rather end up at the flag. Nice music. I want that sword. Although, sort of looks a little bit like it was modeled after the Moonlight Greatsword
They look like the ones in
from
old
every
Lumia.
Soulsborne game that ever existed.
So he's the one who felled the Exxon.
Simon.
You know him.
He's an old friend of mine. We joined Expedition Zero together. He disappeared, and I thought... Looks like you met Clair. I'll lay you to rest, my friend. Just try it.
Take your shot.
Okay, so full disclosure, it's been another day since I fought him, so it's going to take me a time or two to get adjusted to that.
Please survive.
And the other thing I noticed is I did not put second chance on these guys, so I need to do that.
Okay.
After I die this time, I'll go back and fix it. That was stupid. I trust me.
Thanks.
I look. Maybe she has second chance. Everybody else doesn't, but they all need it. I went through and
Last chance. I'm okay.
I went through and did all that work, resetting Pictos and Lumina, and forgot to add those two. That's just. And then didn't realize that Simon has shields, and I should have gotten rid of the shields first. And he just kicked me to death. All right, no problem. All right, we're gonna flash forward to attempt number 6 on the day. We're ready for him now. Let's see if the strategy works. We're gonna machine gun him. May as well get as much damage as we can get from Verso. Because of the I'm trying to see whether there's something I want to do bigger damage, but I actually think the free aim is doing well. Actually, he's marked, so let's do this. Okay,
You're outmatched.
probably did better than the free aim. We're gonna do it again. Or we're not gonna do it again. See, I guess that was the danger of not using doing the free aims. Is not generating any AP. Okay, so Stendhal did the job in the first phase. Issue with the second phase is I don't think I can get everyone to play before he gets a chance, which means I have to at least survive, and they all have second chance on, so actually maybe we can't, because see, we can get Mael, then we can get CL, and she can use intervention to get Mael to play again. Let's see if we can get that to work right. Good damage. We always want to leave them marked. Okay, so we can get her to play. She can use Stendhal, right? Not impressed with the damage, actually. Well, I think it's...
Last chance. Time to hit big.
Oh, she's... We're gonna Stendhal again. Better damage. Okay. Now we're gonna go with CL. This is working out fine. Pretty much. with 5. I need marking shot.
Your turn to shine.
Intervention's going to be the better move. I was going to use marking shot, but so we're going to do same setup. Nope. Last chance. Oh, can we do that? I think I goofed. Now I have to survive. Okay, so second chance should bring me back.
Mael.
Oh, nope, I guess not. You just removed me from the canvas.
Look out.
Oh well. This will not be the run. Okay. I saw what I did wrong. Alright. No problem. Yeah, go ahead and kill me. I got you next time, though. Definitely got you this time. Alright, Simon. You've been messing with me long enough. Let's do this. Same strategy. Use our shots. Mark. Oh, he's already marked. Now we mark. Good damage. I'm going to do it again. He has other skills he can use, but I've got 1.4 million just using free aim. I don't know that I have a skill that can get me to 1.4 million.
Target marked.
At the mark. Alright.
Death. It's a
So
friend.
we're going to use this. Get some damage in.
Deal me in.
Sort of sucky damage. And then we're going to use marking card. That's right. So we got the blue mark. This should end the fight. Or at least end this phase of the fight. And we're going to need to do exactly the same thing in the second phase.
Shot. Fiery. Shot.
Right, there we go. Okay. So I have to remember to get the mark on. And even if I have to sacrifice something else,
Let's carve a path.
same strategy as before. At the mark, and we can do left and mark. I don't know whether marking shot or a defiant strike is better, but we'll go with mark. We didn't do as much damage as we did in the first phase, but that's okay. So in this one, going to do
Show
Fortune
me what you
Fury
can do. Ready.
to give her a little bit more. And then we're going to do marking card. Should be a blue mark. Yep.
I can do it.
No. Extend all.
Fiery. Stab.
Got it. Got it. 46 million damage in that last shot. So the key is, or was, at least for me, is making sure that he was marked. And I think the blue mark seems like it's more potent than Verso's red mark. I'm not sure why that would be, but nevertheless, getting that mark on and having Mael do her thing. And I don't know, maybe roulette kicked in as well. That's a possibility. It's actually a pretty good possibility. We definitely had as many damage buffs as we had. Okay, so this is the end of Simon. And we have his Moonlight Greatsword, which I think is called something different because this is not a Souls game. It's the Samosa. And we also have the final journal entry. Yeah, Samosa. It's already 33, level 33. Not a lot of damage, so I have to sort of look to see what it does. But first things first.
Simon. More and more of my mind is fading away. I must put my words down on paper before I lose myself entirely. My beautiful Clair. What did she do to you? That paintress. She fooled me. She looked so much like you, and I believed her story. She granted me the power to fell the axons and enter the monolith. I realized too late that she had warped my mind. That she had in fact taken you away, locked you somewhere I could never reach, and set me on a path to destroy your future. But then I met Aline, who showed me that I could save you. With her help, I descended to the bottom of the monolith, where Aline had sealed him away. The one who brings the Gamache. The one who threatens our very existence. But his powers are strong, and I'm finding it harder and harder to fight his influence over my mind. My mind is breaking. My final thoughts are only a few. I despair. But one day, our suffering will end, and we will find our way back to each other. In this life, or another.
It's sort of sad. It's okay, Simon. We took care of everything. So now whether he exists in the real world, I don't really know. So I wanted to show you guys. I completed all of the journal entries. That was one of the goals once I got to the end of the game, is to do all the journals, find all the lost gestrals, find all of the areas, all 46 optional areas. And we've done that. So now You can fight him again if you want to, by the way. You can fight Simon again. I have no desire to fight him again right now. But one day, I want to come back and use his own sword against him. But today is not that day. Okay. So with that, yeah, we're going to switch to the Simon weapon. Again, not as strong as the one I had. And I'm going to need to go in and change my allocation of attribute points. But don't need to do that now. We're going to head back out to the continent. We're going to do a fly around, and we're going to head back to the camp. And that will be the end of Expedition 33, the bonus episodes. You know, I can't stop talking about how good this game is. I think every game I play after this will be measured against this game for its story, the amount of content it had without making you pay extra for it, the free DLC that dropped the day of the Game Awards, which is Versos Drafts, which is actually pretty good. The other thing, in addition to Versos Drafts, is that the Endless Tower changed. There were paintings that you could now interact with. They weren't there before. Each painting contains super bosses. So just so you know. So with a creative team that was as small as the team was for this game, it sort of demonstrates that you don't need, some huge corporation behind a game. It may help. I'm guessing Santa Monica Studios has a huge number of people behind it. Ubisoft maybe used to. I mean, they've been struggling a little bit lately. FromSoft, I think, has probably a pretty decent team. But this illustrates that you don't need to do that. So if you're spending $100 million to put out a game, you're probably spending too much to do it. Something like Black Myth Wukong took a long time. Started with a relatively small team, but it was 20 years in the making. And by the time they got to the end, there'd been multiple teams. Right? You start out, you have a team, and then 5 years go by and there's no product, and that team leaves and another team comes in. So you have those kinds of things that go on as well. But I think when you look at this type of setting, it sort of proves that it is still possible to be an independent game maker and make something really good. So for all the other indies out there that's working on games that they think that they've poured their hearts and souls into, take a look at this. That's all I can say. Take a look at this. This was something. Okay, so we're back at the camp for the final time, and we're gonna put the first song that we ever got on. And as that plays, I will walk over to take a look at where the Paintress was. She's not there anymore. Actually, no, before I do that, I need to take one final look at each of my crew. CL, you are a sweetheart. Mael, spicy but nice. Mael, little sis. Monoko, buddy. And Esquier, just the best old friend in the world. So with that, I will say goodbye. Thank you guys for joining me on this incredible journey. And for those of you who stuck with me to the end, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me in this. And if you like this video, hit the like button, of course. And also comment and subscribe and all that good stuff. Next up is Code Vein 2. And then after that, Neo 3. Generally uploads every Tuesday and Friday. I missed the deadline on this one, but I am getting it out on today, which is Saturday. Take good care.